Patrick Stewart squirming in the director's box, a forgotten striker target back in the frame. Russell Martin sends a message straight to the 49ers. Ferguson raging after Nedim Bajrami discussed in Rangers moment at Ibrox, and a Brazilian bulldog who could finally fix our midfield. There's so much happening, and we're diving into every last bit of it. Don't blink, don't skip. We are the people. There's never a quiet week at Ibrox, is there? You sit down thinking you'll just be talking about a solid 4-0, thumping over Aberdeen, goals flying in from Jefte, Hamza Igamane, Cyriel Dessers and Vaclav Cerny, and instead you end up knee-deep in boardroom tension, tifos, and chief executive squirming in his chair. Now let's get into it. Patrick Stewart, the Rangers chief executive, was back in the director's box at Ibrox as the side picked up their first win since March. You'd think he'd be enjoying a fine afternoon, finally seeing the team look sharp and hungry again. But the noise wasn't just coming from the pitch. Earlier this month, a tifo was unveiled by Rangers supporters showing Graham Souness pointing what appeared to be a shotgun in the direction of the Celtic end with a pointed message below. The club quickly distanced itself, putting out a statement saying it crossed a line, but if they thought that'd be the end of it, they were sorely mistaken. Because as Rangers steamrolled Aberdeen, another banner went up in the stands. This time, it read, "Jumped the gun and lost the fans. No apology, no surrender." And there sat Patrick Stewart in the thick of it all, visibly uncomfortable. The atmosphere around him colder than a January night in Govan. The unrest isn't just about one banner or one moment. It's the bubbling frustration over how the club's being run. You've got Kevin Thelwell newly appointed, the rumored 49ers takeover looming, and the ongoing wait for a permanent manager. Barry Ferguson's holding the fort, aye, but names like Steven Gerrard, Danny Roll, and Davide Ancelotti are all swirling in the wind. Whoever takes that hot seat next has to be ready for the pressure cooker because patience has worn thin. And let's be honest, this summer might be one of the most crucial in recent memory. You can't get it wrong again. Not after the false dawns, not after letting the title slip away, and definitely not with Celtic reveling in every misstep. Has Patrick Stewart completely lost the dressing room, and more importantly, has he lost you? There's talk again of Albion Rrahmani being back on the Rangers' radar, and frankly, after yet another Cyriel Dessers performance that had you pulling your hair out, it's no surprise. Barry Ferguson keeps banging the drum about needing more clinical edge up top, but then he turns around and picks Dessers. Against Aberdeen, it was the usual story, a glaring miss, a chalked-off goal for offside, and then a tap-in when the game was already dusted. Aye, he scored, but it doesn't take a master tactician to see the bigger picture. This is the same striker who was nowhere to be found when it mattered against Celtic. Now Rrahmani, that name's starting to bubble back up in Kosovan circles, and you can see why. The boy's 6'2", knows where the goal is, and cost Sparta Prague around £4 million last summer. He started brightly, but since returning from injury in February, he's barely had a sniff. Just 4 starts, and rumors are swirling that Sparta are ready to cut their losses. The Czech press is saying he was very close to joining Rangers before, and now they might let him go for half of what they paid. That's £2 million for a striker with double digits in goals this season. Compare that to Dessers, who's among the highest earners at the club and delivers with the consistency of the Govan weather. Let's be real here. If Ferguson's not going to give Hamza Igamane a proper run and Dessers continues to underwhelm, then a younger, more mobile, technically gifted striker like Rrahmani makes perfect sense. But here's where it gets tasty. Is there even a point in signing a striker like Rrahmani if the manager in charge doesn't have the bottle to drop Dessers and actually play him? Russell Martin has poked his head above the parapet and sent a subtle but clear message to Rangers and perhaps more crucially to the incoming 49ers ownership that if they want him in the Ibrox hot seat, they'll need to tick more than just the big club box. The former Scotland international, once a loanee in Govan, is back in the headlines. Out of work after leaving Southampton, he's being whispered about as a contender for the Rangers job, alongside Steven Gerrard, Rob Edwards, Gary O'Neill, and of course, current caretaker Barry Ferguson. Martin's style is all about attacking football and possession-heavy systems, things that Rangers supporters crave when watching snooze fests like that Celtic draw or the recent stale run before the 4-0 Aberdeen rebound. On Match of the Day 2, he said he's turned down other jobs already, stating he wants the right cultural fit, proper backing from ownership, and a club whose supporters and board believe in his methods. That last bit is crucial. This wasn't just a general comment, it was a direct challenge. He wants to know if the 49ers are serious, if they've got the backbone and belief to let him build something real at Ibrox, not just paper over cracks and hope the Celtic collapse again. Now remember, this is a manager who's worked on a tight budget, promoted youth, and brought identity to clubs with a fraction of Rangers' expectations. If he's being seriously considered, it suggests the board might be thinking of a long-term project, not just a reactionary appointment. Does Russell Martin's modern, patient football have any place at Ibrox, or would his style be torn apart by the demands, the tempo, and the roar that expects nothing but thunder from the first whistle? Barry Ferguson was absolutely seething in the dugout at Ibrox, and it wasn't just the usual frustrations with Cyriel Dessers' inconsistency up front. No, this time, the target of his fury was Nedim Bajrami, whose display against Aberdeen left the interim boss disgusted. In a match that finally brought some cheer back to Govan with a 4-0 win over the Dons, Bajrami managed to spark the loudest reaction from Ferguson, and not in a good way. Picture this: Leon Balogun, centre-half, bombing forward 50 yards with the sort of hunger you'd expect from a lad trying to win a contract. He lays it off to Bajrami in a prime position to run at Aberdeen's shaky backline. And what does the Albanian do? He turns back. Ferguson couldn't even watch. He physically looked away in disgust. That says it all, doesn't it? Let's not sugarcoat this. Bajrami cost the club £3.4 million last summer from Sassuolo. And what has he done with it? 5 goals, 4 assists, and a pile of May performances in a shirt that demands so much more. He's been outshone by Hamza Igamane, a lad who's only just finding his feet, and let's not forget the reawakening of Haji, who's shown flashes of proper Ibrox class since returning. With the 49ers takeover hovering in the background, you can bet they'll be looking at Bajrami's situation and sharpening the axe. If you've got a player on decent wages, brought in with high expectations, and now being hooked at halftime because he won't take on a defender, there's your answer. You simply cannot afford passengers in a team that's supposed to be hunting Celtic down. Not next season, not ever. Should Rangers cut their losses on Bajrami now and use that money to secure a new deal for Haji, or has the club already failed by giving the wrong one a chance in the first place? One name sneaking into the conversation could be exactly the kind of under-the-radar masterstroke Rangers need: Metinho. Now, don't let the name catch you off guard. This isn't some flashy Brazilian samba star. What you've got here is a proper engine room operator who could be the glue in a midfield crying out for balance and bite. Kevin Thelwell's first job isn't just to get the manager sorted, it's to sort this bloated, broken squad. Midfield in particular is a mess. Tom Lawrence, Václav Cerny, and possibly Haji all set to exit. Cifuentes and Dowell out on loan and unlikely to return with much fanfare. That leaves Raskin and Diamande doing double duty every week without a reliable third piece beside them. Enter Metinho, solid in the tackle, sharp without the ball, and tactically sound. The data heads are calling him a statistical twin of James Garner. You know, the lad who Rangers tried to get before Manchester United priced him out of reach with a £15 million move to Everton. This is exactly the type of move Rangers need to nail. While Celtic are off polishing another conveyor belt talent or tapping into their Japanese scouting network, we've got to be digging into these Premier League fringe profiles, players with the skill, but more importantly, the hunger to prove themselves in a pressure cooker environment like Ibrox. Because here's the thing, we've seen technically gifted players like Bajrami come in and wilt under the lights. European nights fine, but give them a wet Wednesday at Rugby Park and they vanish. Metinho's profile suggests he's got the physicality to cope with Scottish football, not just admire it from a distance. Should Rangers gamble on another unproven name like Metinho? Or has the Ibrox midfield become too important to risk on anything short of a ready-made warrior? If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now.